All right, let's go over the vertebral bones that make up the vertebral column, starting first with the cervical vertebrae, in which there are 7 cervical vertebrae. This is the first cervical vertebrae, also known as C1 or atlas. It is known as atlas because it holds the globe of the skull atop of it, and it allows for the motion of saying yes, which is that nodding up and down motion. This is C2, or the axis, which articulates with C1, and it allows saying no, so it allows that rotation to say no with the head. This is a typical cervical vertebrae, this is a typical thoracic vertebrae, and this is a typical lumbar vertebra. Now, as I said, there are 7 cervical, there are 12 thoracic, and there are 5 lumbar. So we know that this is cervical because it has a bifid spinous process, so this fork here, and it also has these holes known as transverse foramen, which allow passage of the vertebral arteries. Otherwise, all the other landmarks are going to be about the same on each of the vertebrae. So, starting with the body, the pedicle, which is a bridge between the body and the transverse process. I think of it as you treat your body with a pedicure. This would be the transverse process. This would be the superior articular process, with this flat surface being the superior articular facet. This is the lamina, and that's the spinous process. And this is a vertebral foramen. Here is a thoracic vertebra. So we have the body, the pedicle, the superior articular process with its superior articular facet, transverse process, the lamina, spinous process. And I forgot to mention on this one, but we also have an inferior articular process with its inferior articular facet. The facet is just the part of the process that articulates with the bone underneath, and in this case for the superior articular facet, it articulates with the bone above. So this one also has an inferior articular process and facet as well, located right here. One thing about the thoracic vertebra is that it's easy to tip over because its spinous process is pointing inferiorly. So that's one way you can differentiate it. Also, to me, it looks like a giraffe. This is the lumbar vertebra, which looks like a moose. This is the body, the pedicle, the superior articular process with its superior articular facet, the transverse process, the spinous process, the lamina, and then the inferior articular process with its facet. Whenever vertebrae are joined together via the facets, they call them the facet joints. And then here is our sacrum. It's composed of 5 fused bones. And then we have the coccyx, otherwise known as the tailbone, right there, which is 3 to 5 fused bones. So for the purposes of our class, you just need to know the name sacrum and coccyx.